I came up with this idea later because I was a little bit tired of just lecturing on photosynthesis. You know, why do you need to know both photosystems? Well, it's extremely important stuff as a biologist, but why do you need to know it in the context of a lecture and not put it in the context of something you're interested in? In one ear out the other, the same thing I heard in 7th grade, I kind of learned it then. All right. We're stuck in shallow learning mode. Right? That's what I know now. Discovered. Just memorize this just because I want to get an A. So, shifting from that, I said, you know what? I think we could use natural history themes, and pick your theme, whatever it is. Any science theme that I am familiar with. I'm a professional in this whole. I want to make that exciting for students, so students can do so. Migration. Let's take a migration theme and design a course that students learn through concepts of migration, yet the biology and public policy that they need to understand complex civic issues that are current and of concern. This last summer, we had a group come out from KQED in San Francisco, the public radio station, and we're working closely with them and their science education projects that they've got going on. I encourage you to go look at their website, their science site. They have a number of tools there that they use that a lot of the science that you're familiar with that comes out of public radio, public television, primarily Nature being one of those, right? Frontline, others, you know, so they have a lot of professionals there that have given sort of hints and clues as how you do this kind of stuff. And they've been working with Berkeley and Stanford. They wanted to do something nationally. They asked me to get involved in this, and so I said, well, we had these case studies, and we would do these case studies, which were current public policy events that students are interested in, that you get to pick, and let's learn the science you need to know to articulate your position, some public policy alternatives, that sort of thing. So you are engaged in this and more interested in it. Students learn better when they are interested in what they're learning. You know that more about how people learn that, right? And we would do a PowerPoint presentation at the end of the term. And we'd make a mini, so 5th annual conference on, and sometimes the dean would show up and that sort of thing. And people would do hour-long case study presentations in groups of 4 or 5 and become pretty good experts on what was happening. We kind of got bored of PowerPoints. Julia said, we're not using any PowerPoints today. We don't have any PowerPoints. That's a word slide. So, no PowerPoints. How are we going to do this? Use social media. So here's this KQED group out there saying, do social media. I don't tweet very well. I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but let's jump in and see what happens and give the responsibility to students, primarily to see how do we use these social media instruments to develop new products that can actually take the life of a course beyond what's happening in an individual project. What's out there and connecting requirements of connecting students to professionals in the field, which is a little different than the way we've done it with PowerPoints. For example, doing interviews, converting interviews into PowerPoints. They never required that. They never talked about that for an end of a semester presentation. But my opinion has always been, we're here at George Mason University, and if you are not taking advantage of being in the Washington, D.C. area, we are doing a disservice to ourselves and our students, right? I tease my colleagues, at Iowa all the time and say, I'm like, man, I wish we were in Washington. We just get on the metro in 15 minutes. We go down and talk to people in NGOs, or get access to congressional offices, which you can do. And the students are like, can we do that? Let them talk about it. Can I talk about that? So, what happens when you make connections to those kinds of organizations and find out who's doing what?
I think that one of the most powerful things that I took away from this course was, I actually did something. My project was on light pollution, and when I took this course, I took it because it was 6 credits. I didn't take it because I cared about migration. In fact, I was kind of like, I don't really like birds. Am I going to like this course?
You wanted to migrate away.
Yeah, right. And the case study that my group chose, I'm going to talk quick because I have to run to work, but the case study that we chose was about light pollution, and the reason that we went into it was we were looking at turtles. One of the girls had a connection down in South Carolina, and it was a big issue down there. And through our research, I actually became really passionate about this topic. And we created this website as a means to educate the public. And, you know, it's not extremely scientific, because the information that we wanted to get out there was just, why should you care about light pollution? It affects a lot more than just sea turtles. It can have actually a devastating effect on the oxygen content, we found out, because of the zooplankton. And not that everybody's going to care about that, but there's reasons for everyone to care. And so I interviewed a doctor from the International Dark Sky Association, and when at the end of the interview, when I told him that we created this website, he was like, "No way, can you send me the link? I would love to get that out on our social media. We would love to share that with people and show that there are other people out there that care about this." And I was like, "Yeah, sure I can." And so we actually did something. We created a product that can reach more than our teacher who's going to read a paper and throw it in the recycling. I mean, that's ultimately, how many PowerPoints have I made in my school career? Countless. How many have I ever shown to anyone aside from the teacher in the class? 0. So that, to me, was one of the most powerful points.
To interject, well, yeah, so there are specific requirements when you do a case study. And we spend a couple of weeks in class doing the development of an issue. Here's got to run.
Sorry.
The development of an issue. What is the issue? And how do you, and that's a critical thinking development skill. Is to say, you know, migration, salmon in the northwest. Well, fish are dying. That's not an issue, that's a fact. Why are the fish dying? And then they get into, well, you've got sovereign nations, you've got and Native Americans that set their own take limits, you've got Canadians taking fish out in the ocean in international waters, and what the heck does that mean to have international waters anyway? And you've got power and politics in California that's in a drought that needs the hydroelectric, and so the water goes there. And what about the irrigation that's happening for the crops in Washington State, and all of this stuff? And then you boil that down into an issue. That's what they've all done, is come up with these different issues in the context, and then within those issues, there's different topic areas that they specialize.
I was thinking monarch butterflies. I have an 8-year-old son. I want to teach 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade at Knock Brown. You know, every year they learn about the monarchs and the migration of the monarchs. And so it was just interesting to me on that aspect, and being able to teach him and the children that I'll teach in the future a little bit more into it, besides they fly from Canada to Mexico and back every year, but the fact that they're disappearing, what we can do to help them, why this is happening, the impact they're going to have on it. And then of course we expanded it not just to monarchs but to pollinators in general, because of the importance of what's going on with the bee population right now, and colony collapse disorder and things like that. So our website was geared towards probably 3rd to 5th grade, and what we did was make our own pictures and put them up there so that the kids could actually go onto the website themselves and flip through and read the story and learn about it on their own, something that they could do at home or in a classroom, on the computer time in the classroom as well. We had a couple other things on there too, you know, for the parents, like contacting someone to support the Save the Pollinators bill. And there's also a link to a video on how to plant a garden that is safe for pollinators.
And one of the requirements, you had the video that you did with Vermont, so one of the requirements was to produce a 2 or 3 minute video production based on an interview with some professional in the industry. So here's an example of one that you guys produced and put up here. You all know Vermont, so I think you had an interview at Vermont.
So you asked earlier about the PowerPoints and how this is different from a PowerPoint and how it is a more effective way of teaching. And like Kira said earlier, I don't know how many PowerPoints I've done, but I don't remember any of them. And quite honestly, out of my entire career in school, I believe that this class is the one that I've taken the most information from. I've followed up on this a bit and have started an internship this year with Sweet Virginia, going around to different elementary schools and teaching kids about bees. And what's funny is last week I had an essay due for my internship, and I turned it in and had a few bits of information about bees in my essay. And the professor who grades them said back, well, you're an expert on bees, so I'd like to hear more in your next essay. Tell me some more things you know. And I read it and I thought, oh my God, I'm an expert in bees. You know, all these other classes I've gone to and haven't really taken that much from them. But with this, I have. And another thing I wanted to kind of touch base on is, you know, as growing up, my parents, you know how you're a product of what your environment that you grow up in. And some people grow up in a household where politics is very prevalent. How your government works, who's running things, how you change things. Some people grow up knowing that this is important, this is how it works, and this is what I can do. I didn't. So sometimes I'd come to class and Dr. Wood would be talking about different parts of the government and what we can do to change things. And here I am, almost 40, going, I don't know that. You know, some of these other people know that. And in a migration class, of all places, I've made that connection and am more of a proactive citizen from this project.
My group chose elephant conservation. Me and one other teammate, we thought of the idea because we wanted to know a little bit more about it and to kind of steer away from stuff in our own country and kind of get outside the world and see what else is out there. And we were very curious about, well, what's going on with elephants in Africa and why are they disappearing so rapidly? And we found a whole bunch of information that we did not know before. One of my teammates actually is from China, and she had a really deep connection with African elephants and the ivory being sold because it's so big in China, and so she wanted to know a little bit more about it too. And so creating this website helped her to get that message across to either her own family and maybe her friends in China. So she created this cute little video that explained the biological processes and also the environmental changes that elephants go through and why they are so important to our ecosystem.
I'm thinking we've got to do this multimedia. I know a little bit about designing websites. I know a little bit about, I don't know much about making a movie. I certainly don't tweet. I certainly don't blog. I don't do any of this stuff. But the tools were there on the site that we worked with. They had the knowledge because they'd done these 3,000 word essays that were fully referenced about the information that they wanted to have up there, and they did this. I didn't feel I had to teach them how to do any of this media. This is what they came up with, and you can do it. And so it's not an issue of if I want them to do a multimedia case study, do I have to teach them all this multimedia effect? No, what we need to allow you to do is discover what you're passionate about, and they make the effort. They really get into making this stuff.
So this was several years ago, after taking a course in one of my courses, I was developing a Smithsonian Mason semester program. Some of those ideas came from, put everybody in a band, we go downtown, and we go to Conservation International, or we go to WWF, we go to Smithsonian, colleagues down there, and we have people come in and talk to us. And inevitably, students ask, somebody comes in that's 26 years old, just got a job working for an NGO, and they say, well, what do you do all day long? They said, well, I was hired in this organization, and we have a mission. and I go out there and I find information that fits within our mission, and I make an argument to the administration of this organization that we need to put resources in and pursue this, and this is what we can do. And the students are like, wow, that's what we have to do in our class. And just get out of that mode, it's just tell me what I need to know. I'm comfortable with that. I can get an A doing that, and that's what I've done. I'm here just to rock this boat a little bit. And then they go down, they say somebody's hiring people for their capacity to go into the world and identify real problems, articulate those problems, and then talk about them intelligently within the context of their organization. Okay, well, that requires higher order thinking. You gotta be able to find information, you gotta process it, you gotta have enough background knowledge within the disciplinary fields. Knowledge and application of knowledge, higher order kinds of things, versus the lower order memorization kinds of things, which are important, but are frequently lost when they're not applied or used, right? So most students come in, I do this thing, did I do this to you guys? I said I went back and I took that high school chemistry course that you took, where you memorize this material to maybe do well in your SATs or whatever you did in college. And you got it, remember that course, your chemistry course, you got a B+ or an A- in it? Well, I have the final exam for you right here. Teacher gave it to me. I'd like you to take that final exam. The response of students is, oh my God, I just memorized and forgot this. That's the dilemma that we face. And I think as faculty, we have to not buy into the status quo. We just need to do rote memorization for these purposes, but you learn through application and design our curriculum to allow that to happen. And the first argument that comes up with a lot of new people at Central is, well, I don't have time to do this. I have to tell them this so that they can go on to do that. So the first assumption is told is taught. Told is not taught. Whether we want to believe it because it's been our traditional structure, the way that we present courses, told is not taught. Right? And you look at long-term learning outcomes and the capacity of students to do stuff, it doesn't really work that way. So we do have a challenge to change systems, and there are, when you look at what we're looking for in medical school applications and things, the emphasis on what have you done besides take courses and memorize courses? Have you gone out to be a candy striper? Have you done socially valuable things? What are we looking for in society? What's happening today? Yesterday in the news, what do we have? We have a young woman from Arizona who got caught up in the conflict in the Middle East and is now dead. And so we're mourning the loss of this student. What are we talking about as a society about who this person was? Not memorization of material and courses, but her capacity to go out and engage and do stuff.
I'd like to also add that what we're showing you is their final presentations. This doesn't mean that these guys weren't reading from a textbook, that they were creating their essays, and they had to go to peer-reviewed literature to do that. That, I remember Dingle, right? That's a hard read. So there was lectures going on. There was traditional told is taught necessarily, things going on within the classroom that was not this. This is just their final projects, and wow, what a great thing they got involved with. I teach mineralogy, and it's a lot of hands-on microscope work, and you have to learn words and all this terminology, but we do a project about sharing a mineral. What was your mineral? Smithsonite. What's about the mineral? Did it help you learn anything about mineralogy?
I learned a lot of fun facts I wouldn't have got from the textbook.
And then we have the Gem Mineral and Fossil Show, and everybody goes around and says, "This is my mineral. Come and see my mineral." You're still teaching a lot of facts, but you're getting them involved in something that they feel personal and passionate about. So I don't think it's that you have to go to this all the way, because this is not everything that Tom does. The class has got a lot of content in it as well, but is this better than an end of semester PowerPoint presentation on a case study? I would argue.
A couple of websites for you to see. Project Sensor is mentioned here, Science Education for New Civic Engagement Reform. The Chesapeake Bay Regional, we're just kind of getting going here, and we do have opportunities, we've got some funding again this year. So we're gonna have a meeting probably this summer, a meeting with the principals and seniors associates in our region. And I've got some great ideas for things to do. We did a meeting out here at Front Royal to follow up on ideas of coordinating faculty across institutions as a expertise in different institutions. Again, getting outside, getting into the field, bringing in NOVA folks, Towson, James Madison, we've got all the way down to the Bay at this point in time. A few other folks that are doing it. So if you're interested in Sensor, we'd be more than happy to. I want to bring in more faculty from Mason. And the Summer Institute's coming up at WPI, so we can drive up there. It might be a little more effective. It's the first week in August this year. So we'd love to have, we've had teams from Mason go before, we'd love to have our teams participate and go. What else? The KQED website, did I bring that up? Questions?
Can you make your syllabus accessible?
I can send that to you. There is a syllabus, if you go on the Sensor website,
Okay.
and you go to resources and you go to, down here to model.
Model series.
There's a lot of models on here, and they're down here, and that model,
Right here. Early ones.
one of the first, that was one of the first 4 models in the Sensor project. But I've changed that syllabus a lot since then. It's kind of it gives some ideas of some projects, and that was sort of focused on what is important. But the case study's in there. So I think that's a good thing to try to draw into classes, is that challenging. It's a little bit of extra time outside of class. So we evaluated this course and say, how much time are you spending in the course? Realistically, to go off to interviews, that sort of thing. I would be happy to talk to you any more about, one of the things we love to do and do at Sensor is nuts and bolts kinds of things. So we'll spend a workshop, we'll spend an hour and a half or 2 hours. Bring your syllabus in, let's brainstorm on ideas, step outside the box a little bit, and then see, what are some things that we can do that might be interesting to me, so I'm not so bored as a teacher doing the same class all the time. And what are the kinds of things that we can incorporate into the course that might help to improve the course.